I tried to beat Dark Souls 1 without the heads up display, and if I die more than 20 times, I will dedicate myself to learning the banjo. Allow me to start this story with a comparison. Dark Souls and middle school both have in common that they're very difficult experiences. To even have a chance at survival, you should take time to study up on enemies' weaknesses, learn that not everyone can be trusted, and maybe don't mention you're into anime on the first day of arriving. Point is, you will struggle until you learn how to absorb and manipulate the information. But what happens when you take this information away? If one were to disable the heads-up display in Dark Souls, they would immediately run into limitations. How much stamina did this one attack cost me? Is my health currently dangerously low? When will my father reach out and tell me that he's proud of me? I don't know. These were the rules that I set for this run. With that, we were ready to head out. My journey started on a sunny Saturday morning. Naturally, I closed all of the curtains and booted up Dark Souls 1 on my PC that is way too low end for the editing I subjected to. Because I am a comedy genius, I named the character for this challenge run Hudson. I picked the Master Key as a starting gift and I would be playing as a bandit. For reasons that won't reveal themselves until much later. I set off to collect my starting weapons and then I dealt out a few involuntary colonoscopies. Facing off against the Asylum Demon immediately reveals two very big obstacles. I cannot see my own health, meaning that I could never be sure when one more hit will send me to hell. Shit. The boss's health is also obscured. Knowing exactly when the boss falls to my superior swordsmanship would always remain a mystery. But if you die to the Asylum Demon, then what are you even doing? So I left the Undead Asylum behind without any real problems. It was time to set off to Lordran. If you've never played Dark Souls before, the early game is like...
Listen well, there are two bells to ring. The parish above, the bloody fog found deep below. And their guardians still thirst for your cursed blood.
So that's the first step, but before setting off, there's still the matter of our weaponry. To this end, I set off for the graveyard and I stole priceless artifacts from the graves of dead people. I then did the same in Dark Souls. One of these newly acquired trinkets was a Zweihander, which is one of the best early game weapons. One of the limitations of this run is that I cannot see how much stamina one attack costs me. So picking a huge ass sword that's gonna drain all of my energy in one hit anyway, seemed like a great way to proceed. It was. I blasted through the Undead Burg and I got myself a little treat for my efforts. With all of that in place, it was time to find the Taurus Demon. My plan for this guy was simple. I would dispose of the archers at the tower and then turn my attention to the boss itself. An R2 attack from the Zweihander is basically enough to stagger him indefinitely. But of course, I wouldn't be myself if I was able to follow such simple guidelines. Despite a tiny little hiccup, we managed to see it through. The next obstacle was the big red dragon blocking the exit of the Undead Burg. His flame attack can kill you instantly at a temperature of 1300 degrees Celsius. For my American friends, that's a lot. We're able to lure the dragon down to our level by using the bow and arrow, after which we immediately f**k off and move on to the next part. Similar tactics were employed with the armored boar. From this point onward, we're able to upgrade our weapons and armor. This would make clearing the way to the gargoyles easier. I hadn't died yet, so the spring in my step was elevated by false confidence. And then, I slipped up. This one bad decision was the first step towards an even worse decision. Becoming a banjo player. But I wasn't gonna let one mistake keep me down. My approach for the gargoyles wasn't too complicated either. The trick is to have enough DPS so you can clear the first one before the second gargoyle has a chance to spawn in. So naturally... Good. By the grace of God, I was still alive after all that, which gave me a chance to regroup and reset. I rang the first bell of awakening and I even made a new friend at church.
Why do statues have a bottle of mouthwash? They use it to gargoyle.
With newly forged friendships, I picked up the key to the depths, upped my arsenal, and I thought it high time to pick up the Ring of Favor and Protection from Lothrak. Normally, I like to kick him into oblivion so that I can easily loot his ring afterwards. But I messed up one of my inputs and I conked him over the head instead. This was a bummer. I now had to fight him one-on-one. Yeeting him off the cliff wouldn't be an option anymore. And in single combat, he's quite a formidable... To accommodate the entire weight of my dump truck ass, I also picked up Hevel's ring. It was time to make our way to the depths. I have noticed a trend in my last few videos where I always find ways to invoke the wrath of PETA. This one's no exception. Now, the Capra Demon boss fight is really easy. All you have to do is kill the dogs before you even come into the room, obsessively use the stairs and rethink hiring your cameraman from Fiverr. Reigning victorious over the Capra Demon, I made a little detour to the Black Knight near the Grass Crest Shield. This gave me the energy to slice off the Achilles tendons of the nearby Black Knight, who was kind enough to let me temporarily borrow his halberd. Now from what I understand, which is precious little, there is a 20% chance that a Black Knight drops his weapon. It's not like I had the required stats for it yet, but it's always nice to have something to look forward to. Because I messed up the order of my route, I went all the way back to the depths to pick up the large ember. I also found a sack with eye holes. This would be a fitting choice of headgear for someone looking to mask the shame of dying to a normal enemy. We're not taking this off for the rest of the playthrough. It was time to go to Blighttown. I upgraded the Zweihander and mentally prepared myself for the tribulations to come, because I know I struggle with eye contact. As for my time spent there, I would describe it the same way as someone would describe a trip to Miami during spring break. It was fucked up. Now came the time to stare down Quelaag, and then also Fighter. That started off about as well as you might expect from someone of my standing. But I was still alive and able to turn it around. And that's the same crux with life. Failure is when you lose the opportunity to try again. And as long as you're here, you can get up and try to be a better person. I'm just some guy on the internet and I won't pretend I know you or your story, but I do know that the human experience is incomplete without trials, pain and suffering. The fact that you've made it this far in and of itself is nothing short of impressive. And maybe I'm not the person you need to hear this from, but I'm glad you're here and I'm proud of you. The next step in our journey was traversing through Sans Fortress. I don't know why, but I fumbled. After tallying up the death counter, I finally made it to the bonfire. Here, I gave myself the required levels to wield the Black Knight halberd. Basically, the whole game is a done deal now. Now, most of the time, I am a very well-behaved individual. Other times, I let the intrusions win. It occurred to me that I had never seen what's behind this corridor. I chose to investigate. This turned out to be a mistake. After that very preventable death, I chose a different approach. I disposed of the knight that killed me in a previous life and I walked to the end of the corridor. It was here that I found
Absolutely fucking nothing!
This proved that I am always on top of things, so long as things are the top of the intelligence bell curve. I shook off defeat and left my failings in the past. It was time to confront the Iron Golem. His main weaknesses are not unlike yours and mine. All you have to do is sweep him off his feet. From there, he is vulnerable to getting punched in the dick. With the defeat of the Iron Golem, I was ready to go to Anor Londo. Because I want to upload at least once every year, that's going to be it for now. But I leave you with a preview of what's going to happen next. Next time on Dark Gear, Solaire lights himself on fire in front of the House of Representatives. I steal a banjo from the eBay storage center. And Hudson gets shanked by the Cool Kids Club.